Hello, I'm Georgia Shakti-Hill, and I want to welcome you to Living in Balance. We have a great show today, one of my favorite subjects, intuition. And the title is Power Hunch, How You Can Live an Intuitive Life. Come join us. We really all want to develop our intuition, and we can, and we do have it, and it is natural to us. And we have an expert in the field who's really devoted her life to the subject of intuition, and I'm very pleased to welcome Dr. Marcia Emery. Welcome.
Thank you, and I'm so happy to be here. This is my passion.
It is your passion,
yes.
I can tell in reading
yes.
about it. And you know, it is one of those subjects that we are also interested in. I wanted you to give us, from your book, Power Hunch. Okay, we're going to talk about Power Hunch. Now, I thought about that and I thought, okay, we talked about power lunch and a power nap, but this is a power hunch.
It's a power punch of a book.
Okay. And I asked if you would start with a definition of intuition for us, as you would define it.
Yes, my favorite definition is that intuition is the deepest wisdom of the soul. And so it goes right down. It's something we all have, we can all nurture, we can all cultivate. And this intuitive mind, which is so grand, it's just, you know, all over. It's not just in a right quadrant of our body, but it's all over. It speaks to us in pictures, symbols,
yes.
and images. So if I were to use some symbols, I could think of lightning, for example.
Oh, and I love that because that's so perfect. I mean, we get that hit.
That flash.
It is. It's like a lightning flash.
And did you ever have a flash and you're talking to someone, they're so busy talking, by the time they get to you and they say, what was on your mind? Oh, I forgot. It went in and out in a flash. And it's that light that goes on. It's that key. It's that door that opens. And I like the symbol of the antenna, because the antenna picks up the images, pictures, symbols.
We're getting that feedback, aren't we? It's coming into us.
From our intuitive
right.
mind, and it comes right out into conscious awareness. So there are so many metaphors for intuition.
But you know, people all want to be more intuitive than they are. And so one of the things that we can do on our show is that we can share the principles of the Power Hunch. So we're going to go through those, and you can share. And you're also, I want people to know a little bit about you, because in addition to the work that you're doing now, you have been, is it education director for the Intuition Network?
No longer. I once was. And at one point, I had a group called In Reaching, my husband, Jim, and myself. And In Reaching were little pockets of intuition study groups all around the country. So we started that in 1997, but that's ended recently. So that was my activity with that.
So your focus now is how you can share this information with other people. Okay, so through the book, number one, we can tap into our Power Hunch source. Okay, right. What is that source?
Right. Imagine that we have a radio, and the antenna is up. And the antenna has 4 channels: the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. So each of us can get our intuition on one of those channels. Now, the physical channel is learning how you are wired for intuition. For example, many of us start with one of the V's: vision, voice, or vibration. Or to take that to the senses, that would be our sense of sight, our sense of hearing, our sense of touch. So I was pausing for a minute because the vision is the V, vision. Voice is the hearing, the auditory. The vibration is the kinesthetic, the feeling.
How does it feel?
Yeah, so many of us start, and it's really interesting to see how we language things.
But it's also what you'd said, that not just, we don't have to be limited to one of the senses. We really should open all of our senses to it. So we might get that visual, but we can get the gut level feeling too. And so it's something that we can like develop each aspect of our attention and our senses.
Yes, we have a sense that might be predominant.
Okay.
But then to develop the other senses, and that's just the physical channel that we're on.
Okay.
So once we get past the physical channel, many people are operating on the mental channel. They just have a clear knowing. You have a date with Joe for lunch, and at 11:30 the phone rings and you say, I know that's Joe, he's going to cancel lunch. That's just that clear knowing.
And that's the mental.
The mental.
Okay.
The emotional channel, the heart, and I go up here to my heart, is a pure conduit to intuition. when we get to the heart. Now, we have to be careful to keep that pure with the heart. Because sometimes when we get to the lower emotions or the culprit or the ego marches in, wishful thinking or fear, our intuition goes astray. But to tune in right from your heart space, we meet somebody and we have a really strong heart connection.
Yes.
A project is presented to us. Oh my goodness, my heart is completely in this. That's the heart.
Okay, so
And then
that's how the heart works. And then the spiritual aspect.
the big picture. What is it you're here to do? And here we are, you and I doing, our work. And I think when people really get that big picture.
And as you said, it is your passion.
Oh.
You know it when you're doing it and you love it. Yeah, and it just flows.
And I think I want to add something about the spiritual. I had the honor to interview Leo Buscaglia.
Oh, I love
when he was
Leo.
alive.
Yes.
And I said, Leo, speak to me of intuition. And he said, oh, intuition is the voice of God.
Oh.
And that's really, to me, the voice of spirit.
And he was so
through.
special, our love doctor, Leo Buscaglia.
Yes.
Now, listen to environmental clues is what we must do. And we need to just be reminded of that because as I was reading the book, I was paying more attention. And it was that wonderful reminder of synchronicity, yes, in the environment.
All around us, Stephen Simon, the producer of What Dreams May Come,
Yes.
was feeling very despondent one day. He was having a tiff with somebody, and he just felt very low, and he's driving along, and he looks up at a billboard. You have more power than you know. Boom! That was the shot of adrenaline. And many times I'll ask myself a question as I'm taking a walk, my power walk every day, and I'll look up and I'll either see a sign that I've never seen or a tree. I was asking a question one day, and I looked up and I saw Riches of Berkeley. I thought, oh, how interesting. I never saw that sign in my life. And the answer was, abundance and riches
Yes.
coming from Berkeley, where I live.
Yes. And it was interesting because as I was listening and noticing, there are things that are personal to us, and that's where the symbolism comes in, but it's a personal kind, it's your own history, or what you honor. For example, if you're aware of all the Native American gifts that the animals share with us, and an animal will mean something to you differently. So we have to have our own little personal symbols.
Very, very
identified.
individual.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. And a person can even ask a question and just look around. What greets their eye right away? What object, do they pick up? The environment is just such a... Our computer goes out. Just have to
Yes.
think of that. You notice all the energy went out of me when I said that.
And no more communication.
And what does it tell you? Lay off, chill, sit back.
Yeah, we spent too much time on answering those emails, for example. Now, you ask us to make the power shift, and we have these steps that'll take us there. And you reiterated that over and over in the book, because this is something that we need to do here. And we can, step by step, make the power shift. And what do you mean by making the power shift?
Going from the logical mind to the intuitive mind with ease.
Oh, okay.
And I see many people engaged in brainstorming, and they do this round and round, and they're not getting unique ideas, they're not getting creative ideas, because they haven't gone from here to here.
Okay, so you're going to help us shift.
That's right.
Okay, the first thing we
Shift
can do...
does happen.
Yes. Is the issue. We have to
Yes.
identify the issue.
Yes.
What are we working with here? That's the concept?
Okay, I don't use the word problem, because problem is very heavy, it's very onerous. What's on your mind? What is it that you want to focus on? What is the issue?
Okay.
Where do I move? Should I relocate? Should I get a new job? As I give each step, I'll give an example.
Okay.
Sherry, for example, was in the process of moving, and she was picking up a heavy box and her foot and so on. So how can I fix my foot? Her foot was bothering her. Simple question in the question format. How should I fix my foot?
Okay.
That was the issue.
That's the issue.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, centering is the next step that we take. Okay, and centering is?
Taking the cocktail party out of our head. There's so much chatter, there's so much activity.
yes.
Going on, our to-do list, everything is running rampant. How can we get that out?
So come to a quiet place.
So it's taking the mental anxiety out, and I do this in several ways, with an affirmation, with a centering object. You could look at a mandala, something that's very balanced, geometric. You could say a word, peace, serenity. You might have some music.
And what did Sherry with her foot do?
Yes, Sherry said, my intuition will lead me to the right answer. She said an affirmation.
Okay.
So she sat there and affirmed, and she picked up a color stone that she had and looked at that stone.
Okay.
that got her relaxed.
And then receptivity. She needed to be open. And how does
She
one
needed-
become receptive?
Okay, we need to take now the physical stress away
Okay.
instantly.
Okay.
Breathing and relaxation. So she started doing some Hang-Sa breaths that I had taught her. And after doing her breathing, she did a progressive relaxation, counting down. And by that point, she was very, very receptive. So she's sitting there
Okay.
at ease, ready to receive.
And then imagery comes in.
Okay, you ask the question again. How can I fix my foot? And her image came in, a fish. A fish. You know, just like a puzzling dream, we don't know quite what to do
Yeah.
with it. So she got the image, that's that step. She got the image, a fish.
Okay. And what does the fish mean? That was her
Then we go to the next step, where
Okay. decipher the image.
we decipher the image.
Okay.
So I have a process that I use called amplification. And you go to your central image and you associate and back,
Yeah.
associate, and you go back. So for her, a fish was an animal, a fish was carp, a fish was roe, a fish was swimming, a fish was water. And she's going and going, and nothing made any sense. So she said, okay, let me go to the next step.
But you know what?
What?
We're going to have to take a break.
Oh, good.
And
That's the next step.
the next step is to take a break, and that's what we're going to do. But when we come back, we'll find what Sherry did and what we can do to solve this issue. Okay, use our intuition. So we'll be right back with more on intuition and a power hunch. And if you are just joining us, I'm Georgia Shakti-Hill. Our subject is intuition. The title is Power Hunch, and it is Dr. Marcia Emery who is sharing her wisdom and her light with us. We've just been going through the principles, and we're solving Sherry's problem with her foot. Okay, so we've gone through making that power shift, going from the logical over to the intuitive, with issues centering receptivity, imagery, deciphering the image, and now we're ready to incubate.
Right, we just took a break.
Right.
That's our incubating.
Okay.
And it means chill out, stand back, let it go.
Okay.
And you know, that's the hardest thing sometimes when a problem is just
Oh, sure.
ruminating and going round and round, to just let it go. So Sherry lets it go. And she goes shopping. She said, well, so, you know, as long as I came up with fish, maybe I should get some fish for dinner. So she's looking at the different fish, and she's looking at the salmon, and suddenly it occurs to her, her foot doctor is Dr. Gill.
Oh.
And
There
she
you go.
hasn't seen Dr. Gill for 2 years. And it was completely out of her mind when she had that problem. So now we're ready to take the next step of go deeper.
Okay, and to go deeper, we do what?
Okay, we could ask the question again, or we could apply another interpretation technique. And she said, you know, I use the amplification, and the problem is with my foot. So let me use a word association, and that's a train of associations. So she said foot. Foot means walk to me. Walk means direction. Oh my God, she gets that aha. I haven't followed the directions that Dr. Gill gave me 2 years ago.
Aha.
So then we come to the last step.
Yes, and that is implementation.
Implementation.
Okay.
And she has orthotics, and she didn't wear her orthotics or even get them. So she said, now I know I have to follow my directions. Now, look at the intuitive mind. It is so punny. It is so funny. And here she was at that place where she was completely stuck, never even thought about Dr. Gill. Her intuitive mind sent up the image, picture, symbol of this fish. Boom.
And it worked. That's the bottom line.
Yes.
So that's what I love. It does then move us through this issue, not the problem, not the challenge. We just call it our issue. Okay. Now, if you fire up your creative juices, that's our next step. That's our next major principle in the Power Hunch principles. So how do we fire up those creative juices? We've got them, but how do we get them fired up?
How many times have you heard people say, I have a writer's block?
Oh, yes.
Or I have this block or that block? And with creativity, we're trying to use our intuition to jump over that wall, jump over and around the resistance.
Yes.
So, for example, if you're not quite sure what to do, why don't you image what the block might be? If I have a fear and I'm frozen when I have to speak in front of a group, why not see yourself with a block of ice in front of you, and that ice begins to melt. And as it's melting, then you're ready to go forward and speak. That's just, one.
One example.
One
okay, of something
example.
that we take an image and we create
Yes.
what we want here.
Yes.
Then learn from your dreams. Now this is something that some people are so good at. I mean, they use their dreams all the time, and with others, they say, okay, I put the journal beside my bed, I never remember anything, da 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 da. But you want us to really work with those dreams.
How much time do we have?
It's
This is
that
my other
important.
passion.
Okay, it is that
Yes,
important,
yes,
isn't it?
yes,
Okay.
yes. You have to honor your dreams. You have to really believe that everybody does dream and everybody can remember their dream. And when I work with dreams, I like to look at the pictures, the symbols, the image. One morning I woke up and I had shot somebody. And I was so shocked to think that I would have done this in real life. And this man had been my adversary. He had been just...
Oh,
But I
okay.
still never would have done that. And I looked at it. And so when that picture metaphor, when that image comes up, we have to again unravel, go beneath. So what was I doing by killing him? Putting an end to the issue.
Yeah, and so that was a good thing. So you just accepted, but you had to look at this and you had to go through the dream, and it wasn't a comfortable dream, I'm sure.
No, it was...
But you completed.
Right.
You ended with that. Okay.
I like the morning I woke up and I shook my husband. I said, Jim, I dreamt we're having twins. And he said, oh, go back to sleep. That's just your books that you're writing. And, many of us will dream we're having a baby, males, included. We're starting something new.
Okay.
So dreams are absolutely marvelous.
And again, though, we have to know the symbology, and it's personal, and it's individual to each person. I mean, there are the archetypes, and we can be aware of those, but yet we also are a best interpreter of our dreams.
Absolutely.
And is it just intention then that you just say, okay, I am a person who will remember my dreams, and dreams are perfect for understanding, and so that's the technique?
Yes, whatever you want to use. When I go to sleep, I say, I'm going to fall asleep quickly and easily, and wake up in the morning and remember my dreams. But if I really believe that, then I have to have a piece of paper and a pencil. And it also means I have to wake up, and however silly, whatever little part I remember, I have to write that
one
down.
Okay, now, living an intuitive life, these are the principles. And then once we have mastered these, we can live an intuitive life. And how do you define that part?
Living an intuitive life,
Yeah.
where we could set up our visions and make them happen. I'm a frequent flyer on United, and I'm traveling along, and I'm looking at Hemispheres magazine, and lo and behold, I said, I want to write an article on intuition. So I kept seeing it. That was my vision, and I believed that I could do it. I set my intention. I imagined it, whether I did it with vision, hearing, however I did it, and lo and behold, the bottom line is Power Hunches, an article called Power Hunches appeared. So for anybody, I ask them to define their image, play it through, work with it, and bring it up.
And just implement this in our lives all the time.
Yes, dare to believe. The intention is so important.
And it makes our lives so much easier when we go with that flow, doesn't it?
Yes.
There is another book that you have written. It is The Intuitive Healer, and it's very powerful, and it is Accessing Your Inner Physician. And that book, you and I were going to spend an entire show on, but Power Hunch came up too. So I said, I still feel this is so important. Let's talk a little bit about this, because this was one of your babies too.
My second child.
Okay.
The beautiful thing is we don't have to spend time talking about the mind-body connection. And we know that you can't just take a thing away by taking a pill from the outside. So the inner healer, the inner physician, the inner doctor goes in, and healing is from the inside out. And I'm going like this because we have an inner pharmacy inside. So it's going in and finding out what's out of alignment, body, mind, heart,
Now,
or soul.
do we just ask our body, and do we go through the same kind of a process and the steps that we go through, like asking that inner physician to heal?
We try to make that connection. For example, I have the pain in my neck. I don't really, but I'm giving that.
Okay.
And I would say, okay, who's the pain in my neck? I'm going to do something, suddenly I feel I have a flu coming on. What am I really upset about? We have to translate this in other terms. My back goes out over here. And I say, well, my back supports me. Who's not supporting my work? What part of my work isn't being supported?
Now, what if it's chronic? What if it's something that is recurring and has been labeled by a allopathic doctor? You have arthritis, or you have osteoporosis or something like that. What if we've got a label on it and it's an entity almost that we're dealing with?
Right, right. I like to take the allopathic and the homeopathic and put them both together, in combination.
Yes.
And I still like to go beneath the chronic pain and say, what are we tired about in our life? What are we afraid of? What are we angry about?
What are we resisting?
Yes, yes.
Okay. And if it is like a cancer, that is something that is there too, do we need to have a different shift in our approach?
Well, I don't like to say you're responsible for that, but I like to go in and ask the cancer, why are you here in my life?
Yes.
What
Okay.
purpose are you serving? What can I do to heal or alleviate the situation, if any? So I'm taking part of that. And it doesn't matter that I created it. That's not, a part of it. But what is important to ask, what can I do now? What can I do now?
And then you just have to, again, follow the answers that you get. And you have to honor them, and you have to accept that there is an inner knowing, that there is the inner physician that is just waiting for you to tap into that knowing.
Right. Sometimes it's just so direct and easy. Sometimes we're on the cutting edge and we don't want to be there and we have a pain in our knee. What do? How do we take it out? We say, okay, it's time for me to be on the cutting edge. Let me just step up and do my part.
And that's it.
Yes.
That's it. And so with the work that you have done, you feel that all of us have this ability to use our intuition.
Yes.
Okay. And all we have to do is just be ready, be willing, have a willingness.
Practice.
Practice, practice,
Believe,
practice.
practice. Get to Carnegie Hall.
That's it. Okay. And we can use your 7 steps.
You certainly
That
can.
will help get us there.
Yes.
Yes. And I appreciate it, and we thank you so
Well,
much.
thank you. It's been an honor.
If you would like to be in touch with Marcia, and we always love to hear from you, and we always respond. Stay tuned. We'll let you know how, and then we'll have some parting thoughts. And so our wisdom is, the deepest wisdom of the soul is intuition, and that is a wonderful way for us to use that wisdom, that intuition for us. It's interesting because all of us have the ability to tap in. All we have to do is just do it. Until next time, I'm Georgia Shakti-Hill. May you be well, happy, and peaceful, and use your intuition.